Thanks for tuning in to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. Here you'll find tips, insight, and information to help your music and your ministry succeed. Whether you're a singer, a musician, or a songwriter, we want to help you where you are, but we also want to help you get to where you want to go. We believe that our talents are God's gift to us, but what we do with those are our gift back to God. Yesterday's information is important, but what we can learn today will make this the best day yet. Hello, Rob Novell here with the Charles Novell School of Music. Just want to remind you about CNS 24 happening July 14th through the 20th at Murray State University in Murray, Kentucky. CNS is a place for you to take your music and your ministry to the next level. It allows you to ask the right people the right questions to get the right answers. For more information, visit us online at www.cnsmusic.com. Hello, Rob Novell here. Welcome back to another episode of the CNS podcast, The Best Day Yet. Love doing these podcasts. And man, I'm excited. I'm going to share quite a bit today within our topic. Our topic is fundamentally reaching your goals. And we're all about goal setting here at CNS. We started off the year 2023 the entire month of January talking about goals. And you know what? I would probably have to go back and listen to say that this was mentioned, but I do know this time last year, I had set some goals for this year. And the exciting thing is I have officially checked off a lot of boxes to where as this airs, I am officially done with all of my responsibilities and everything that I need to do prior to Christmas. So super excited just to sit back over the next couple weeks and just enjoy Christmas, enjoy Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and just spending some much needed quality time with my family. I get to see my family. I don't neglect my family, but we've talked about this the last couple of weeks. From Thanksgiving to Christmas is just a hard, busy time of year for me every year. There's no way around it for me, and what I do and how I do things. It's one of the busy times of the year that I can't control. The other is the month, about a month prior to CNS. So usually mid-June to mid-July. That's a crazy time of year for me too. And unfortunately, again, there's nothing that I can do about those 2 months out of each year except hang on. I just try to reach out for something that's stationary and grip it to the point that you can like literally see my fingers in what I'm holding because I'm gripping so hard just to hang on. But fundamentally reaching our goals. So some of those goals that I set for this year, this time last year, I did a couple Christmas concerts, and I said I would really love to do more Christmas concerts next year, and even maybe like a Christmas tour. And so I set out thought processing and planning. I'm a planner. I like to think ahead and try. I say it this way: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I think it's important that in having goals and in setting things that we think it out in advance. You can't really embark on some things that I just came off of without some pre-thought preparation and effort put behind it. I think a lot of times we do things in our music and even within our ministries, and maybe the outcome is not what we were wanting or expecting. And we start to analyze and look and see what went wrong, and we fail to point the finger at ourselves and realize, if we'd maybe put a little more effort into the preparation end of things. We've talked before with practice, you play like you practice, but I like to say even before that, you practice like you prepare. So a lot of thought, a lot of different things need to go in to this title today, fundamentally reaching your goal. So let's start with definition of fundamental. Fundamental is a central or a primary rule or principle on which something is based. Another definition, things, activities, and there's the word again, principles that are very important or essential. So fundamentals are things, activities, principles that are very important or essential in the success of what you're setting out to do. We're Charles Novell School of Music. We're a music school, right? Yes. So we talk music and we talk things there. The fundamentals of music, we could even look at like the 7 elements of music: pitch, duration, dynamics, tempo, timbre, texture, and structure. Obviously, those are very important, and they're principles that are important or essential in us doing what we do efficiently and effectively. I love when I'm out and I'm asked about the school, if I'm in a concert or a church service, or even if I'm answering an email or a phone call where someone is inquiring on CNS. I love explaining the school because I love getting around to the fact of 2 Timothy says, study to show thyself approved. And I think it's vitally important that we put effort, there's that word again, into what we do, because I believe as Christian musicians, as Christian singers, musicians, songwriters, as artists, Christian artists, I believe we have a higher sense of responsibility than any secular artist, because we are giving back directly to the one who gave us our talents, our abilities, our skill sets. I like to say it this way: our talents are God's gift to us. What we do with them, that's our gift back to him. What he did for us, we are a week away from Christmas, y'all. We are getting ready, speaking of gifts, we are getting ready to celebrate the best gift that mankind has ever been given, ever received, ever been presented. The birth of our Savior and our Lord Jesus Christ. This is absolutely the most important holiday out of the entire year. But think about what God did in sending his son to this earth to take on the form of man, and the 33 perfect years that Jesus walked this earth. Think of the sacrifice. Think of, let's go back to that word fundamental, the things, the activities, the principles that were very important or essential. God sent his only son to die, to live and then die for our salvation. Fundamentally speaking, I can't think of anything more important or essential than what we're getting ready to celebrate on December 25th, the birth of our Savior, the birth of our Lord. But then we know the Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, those 33 years, and then what did he do? God gave us his son's life on that cross to build a bridge so that we could have eternal salvation and live with him. What he did with excellence. So as we promote and talk about CNS, I love saying we are helping you more efficiently do what it is that you do for God so that you can do it with more excellence. Because again, we're giving our gifts directly back to the one who gave them to us. The talents are his gift to us. What we do with them, that's our gift back to him. So fundamentals of music, listen, we're school music. They're extremely important in what we do. But fundamentally reaching your goal, we can't even necessarily look at music theory as the fundamentals of music. I'm big. If you know me and you've been around me, you know I am very, very big on music theory. It is just vitally important and essential. However, it's different than being a fundamental of music. Music theory teaches us the rules, the regulations, everything that we need to know to produce and perform and create music. It's kind of like, though, I like to use this analogy. In order to receive a driver's license, you have to go to driver's ed. You have to take courses. You have to go to classes. You have to go to school to learn how to drive. What is it primarily that they are there teaching us? They are teaching us the rules of the road, the things that we need to do to avoid breaking the law, right? So we learn how to drive. We learn the rules, sometimes to do what? To break those rules. Just came in off a trip. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Wasn't necessarily driving the speed limit the entire, 4 or 5 days that I was gone. There were times that, I pushed the envelope. Now, I don't know I'm speeding unless I learn the rule of following the speed limit. If I did not go to driver's ed and I'm doing 80 miles an hour in a 55 and I get pulled over and the officer's like, do you know why I pulled you over? I literally would honestly have to say, no, I don't. I didn't know what that, I saw the 55 on that sign, but I didn't know what that meant because no one ever told me what that meant. So sometimes we learn the rules to break the rules. It's kind of how I look at music theory. Music theory and having a knowledge of music theory to put behind your music allows you, I like to say it this way, to work smarter and not harder. Music theory, if you learn the rules, then what? You can break the rules. So we're big on theory at CNS. We have theory classes. They're offered every day during the week. Even with our online courses, they're really big in what we do. We have theory classes involved with our online courses. Even within our teaching curriculum, we have a music theory book. However, we also talk about the Nashville number system. And really, we can talk about the Nashville number system for a second here and say, what is the Nashville number system? It's a way of working smarter and not harder. It is breaking the rules of music theory and putting things out in a more simple, easy to understand, easy to communicate, easy to teach version. I was listening to a jazz piano improvisation podcast on my drive home just today. And I follow this podcast, and this particular episode was a masterclass that he was teaching via Zoom. I think there were 48 people that were part of that masterclass, and he recorded it and then put it out on his podcast as just an episode. And he was teaching on some chord voicings and some rootless chords and positioning. And as he was teaching, he was referring to things in the number system. And what we've done, if you get into the the meat and potatoes of, say, collegiate music theory, we get into what we call analyzation, where we look at the chord structures, we look at the harmonization, and we can analyze it and we can read it and say, this is that chord here. This next measure, we go to this chord. And analytic dictation on the collegiate level through music theory, we are taught to identify those chords by Roman numerals. Well, the number system, we're simply using our Arabic system of numbers to refer to the same thing that we were using those Roman numerals for. So, music theory is not necessarily the fundamentals of music. So let's kind of look into that just a little bit. Fundamentally, to reach your goals, please don't think I'm saying music theory is not important, because I've already told you how important it is to us here at CNS. Music theory is vitally important to what you do, but don't lump it into being a fundamental of music. Even again, are elements of music. So we're going to, here in a little bit, we're going to talk 3 things fundamentally that I think we need to focus on and being better singers, musicians, songwriters, ministers of the gospel. let's get back a little bit to fundamentally reaching your goals. And I mentioned some things. So last year I did a couple Christmas concerts, and I'm like, man, I want to do some more next year. And I have just come off of a couple weeks stretch where I had 9 Christmas concerts that I had to do. And I think I said a couple weeks ago, be careful what you ask God for, because because the word says what? Ask and you shall receive. Make sure that you want to say yes if you want him to say yes. Make sure that fundamentally you two are on the same page. So I talked to him about that. I've joked before. I spent 35 years saying 2 things. I'll never live in the South and I'll never do church work. God had a sense of humor, placed me in Atlanta, Georgia, transplanted me from Cincinnati, Ohio, where I was completely content, placed me 507 miles south in Atlanta, Georgia, doing church work. So God has a sense of humor. So 2 things. Make sure you want to say yes if you want him to say yes. Number 2, make sure that you don't tell God what you're going to do. You listen for what he wants you to do. So Christmas concerts. So I had some solo things I had to do, but man, I just got back in off the road from just a super, super cool trip. I've been doing this a long time and did it professionally for years. And I've talked about some of my time on the road with various groups and just the experience that gave me, the memories it created, and the doors and platforms that God used in that season. But this, honestly, I just came off a trip, maybe one of the funnest trips that I have ever been part of, and went out to do 4 dates with James Michael Rainey. We did a dueling piano Christmas tour, and I absolutely had a blast personally, musically, and spiritually. We traveled, we got to visit, we got to know each other a lot better than we even know each other now. It's kind of, we were having dinner actually on yesterday, and we talked, and we have known of each other for decades, but did not know each other. We've been in the same industry. We've shared stages. We've been at events together. Knew each other enough to wave and say hey, in passing or something. But kind of the analogy I used while we were eating lunch was we'd always been in the same room, but we had never sat down at that same table. And God gave us the last couple years. We've talked. We added James Rainey to our staff at the Charlestonville School of Music through Jeff Stice. And Jeff and I were talking in the spring of 21. We were seeing some growth with the school, and I said, Jeff, as the school continues to grow, who should we add to our piano staff? And he mentioned 3 names without hesitation, and the first name was James Rainey. So a couple months later, we lost Jeff, and the week after Jeff's his funeral service was the Quartet Convention of NQC 21, and on that very, very first day when I got there, I located James Rainey and talked to him about joining our staff at the school, and told him about that conversation with Jeff, and that he was the first name Jeff had mentioned or referred, and he agreed. He came on staff. So started to get to know him over the last couple of years, and he's done a great job. He's been on staff with us now a couple of years, and just an amazing addition to our staff. Just a ridiculous piano player. I mean, we're talking groups like he's played for the Greens, the Hoppers, the Singing Americans, the Blackwoods. He's currently out with Jonathan Wilburn. He's been there the last 11 years. And man, side note, you can't find a much better human singer or Christian than Jonathan Wilburn. If you don't know Jonathan or don't know his music, and he's just released an unbelievable new project. You need to check that out. Jonathan Wilburn. Search him all your digital music platforms. Get that music. Support him. If he is anywhere close to you, man, go out and experience for yourself his ministry and what he and James do together. But so this weekend, though, it actually started last weekend. I flew up to St. Louis, and we did the first date of this Keys to Christmas dueling piano concert tour. We did the first date at his home church in Bellevue, Illinois, right outside of St. Louis. And man, just instantly got off the plane, got in the car. We started towards the church. We were going to have a rehearsal that night. And man, just instantly, three of us got in that car. James, myself, and God was waiting on us. God had something he needed us to do over the next couple of weeks. And we had a great rehearsal, had an amazing service on the Sunday. I flew back to Atlanta, and then on Thursday, I headed up to Pigeon Forge. We headed out on Friday. We were in South Carolina on Friday, Seneca, South Carolina. And Saturday, we headed down to Charlotte, North Carolina. And then after that, Saturday night, we headed on down to Laurel Hill, North Carolina for a Sunday morning service. And then we were going to finish up in North Myrtle Beach at Forest Brook Baptist Church there in Myrtle Beach on the Grand Strand. And so just anticipation heading out to do this. It's a goal that I wanted to do at the beginning of last year. Now, let's talk about some things that were necessary for me to reach that goal. Obviously, we're going to wrap up with three things that I want us to focus on. Fundamentally, there were things that I had to do that would be essential and important principles, and making sure that I could pull that off. Doing a tour with a guy like James Rainey was a little intimidating. I am not going to lie to you. I joke around and about, I'm a bass player turned piano player. Well, actually a piano player turned bass player turned piano player turned bass player. I've got an identity crisis. I don't know what I am. I don't know if I'm bass player or piano player, but no, I everything I've done in gospel music, that I was known for was on the bass guitar. And when he first asked me to do this, man, I absolutely said yes, because I knew it was going to be a great opportunity. But you know what? As I was transparent a couple of weeks ago with an event that I did, then you start, after you say yes, you start to realize that you said yes. And so you don't even get some doors like this to open unless you've taken care of some fundamentals a while back. But listen, if you're new to this, or if you are trying to set some goals for your music and ministry, all of this is applicable information. What I started a long time ago, you can start now. It's that effort that we talked a little bit about earlier. It was vitally important when I decided to do this, that I started preparing myself for this. So, and I had even talked with James, and I remember talking with my dad. I remember having this talk with Jeff Stice in years past. I dislike playing Christmas music, y'all. And I remember this last year. I just had a couple Christmas concerts last year, but man, I kind of sweated those last year. And the fact that here's the thing with Christmas music, 6 weeks out of the year, we're out staging this stuff and ministering this stuff, right? It's different than our normal concerts or normal set lists that we do, the other 10 months and a half out of the year. So it's almost, for me, it's almost like relearning this Christmas music every single year. So, you start brushing up songs that you've played in the past. You start learning some new songs that you want to do. And fundamentally, the main thing I had to do was put a lot of time, effort, practice, the P word, right? Practice. You have to, I didn't want to go out and embarrass James. I didn't want to embarrass myself. I didn't want to embarrass CNS. So I put quite a bit of time in leading up to it. When we got a set list put together and we knew what we were going to do, and he had got some tracks to me, man, it would have been on me if I showed up and wasn't ready to go. So again, God did so much for us and is asking so little in return that we've got to put our best foot forward. So a couple things fundamentally. Number one, it takes practice. It takes practice to do. And if you're setting a goal, that is something big and something you wish to achieve, right? That's what a goal is. So if you're going to raise the bar high, you got to make sure you're raising the bar high. So you've got to put in maximum effort in order to fundamentally reach your goals. So a lot of work, a lot of practice went into things. Man, we went out, we had a great tour. Everything just just visiting in the car. It was great for me personally, musically, spiritually. The whole weekend was great. Just in iron sharpening iron, as the word says. And the plan went great. And what was neat about the dueling piano thing was you play off each other. Fundamentally, there are times that I did tap in to the theory side of things. If I heard James playing melody, I would fill or improvise around that. Other times I took into consideration where he was playing the melody as far as range register of the keyboard. And, fundamentally you start tapping in then to harmony and the harmonization side of music. And so I would move up to a different octave or a different register, and it just changes the sound. I knew to do that because fundamentally I have learned that over the years. So different aspects fundamentally came into play. The services, fundamentally, we knew to create a set list. Again, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you have a set list. But what was so great about the trip was, and it happened multiple times on this entire tour, was watching God show up, take that set list, wad it up, and throw it out the window and say, I need you to do this. So time, effort, practice went in to preparing songs on some stops on the tour we never did, because God would say, I need it to go this direction. At that point, you're adjusting and fundamentally adjusting to what it is that needs. James would just call a song and here we went, and that can make you a little nervous if you don't come to grips with the fact that you're qualified, you're capable of doing that, because your time, your efforts, your experience, the practice that you've put in puts you in a position to be able to adjust. In the sports world, vernacular, football, a quarterback will come up to the line of scrimmage. He will read the defense. He'll see what's facing him on the other side of the line, and he will change the play, and we call that an audible. Man, I love those moments where God shows up and decides to change things. On changing, we had a situation where Sunday night in Fallbrooks, South Carolina, right there in Myrtle Beach, canceled on us. We found out Sunday morning that they canceled. A major storm went up the East Coast this past weekend, and when we got the call on Sunday morning, they were already experiencing 90 mile per hour winds. They were expecting flooding, and we could have probably pushed through. We were a couple, 2.5, 3 hours away, but you get there, is anybody going to show up in a December tropical storm? So fundamentally, here we get back to that word again. You have to be at a place where you know that God is in control of a situation. And so we did the Sunday morning service, and we came to, grips with the trip was going to be shortened a little bit. Financially, that was not a good thing. We both were counting on Sunday night, but you know what? Fundamentally, we have to know that God's in control. We have to put our faith and our trust in God to take care of us when he says, you know what, James and Rob, I am changing the script. I don't need you to go to Myrtle Beach tonight. So we went out to eat after the service. We had a great Sunday morning. It's a great move of God. God really used James to speak into that congregation that morning, and we gave an altar call at the end, and multiple hands went up. We had people come down, rededications, salvations. It was just a great move of God. We left there. We went out to eat. While we were eating, literally, it was raining sideways. We were probably experiencing 40, 50 mile an hour winds where we were. The front door of this restaurant the wind kept opening this door to the point they had to come and lock the front doors of the restaurant because the wind was so bad. The power flickered 6, 7 times inside the restaurant. And James looked at me and said, you know what? We probably need to get on the road. Miss Donna Dye, one of our students there at CNS, we did TV tapings with her on Saturday in Charlotte. She drove down in that storm to be in service with us on Sunday morning. We took her out to eat, and we're like, Donna, we would love to stay and visit, but we all need to get on the road and get out of the storm. So we took off. We got about halfway to Charlotte, and we got a phone call from James' wife, Laura, that a tornado had hit in Fallbrooks right there. When it hit, it was a mile from the church that we were supposed to be at. And we would have been there setting up, taking equipment in, sound checking. It was right in that time frame that we would have been there. So fundamentally, we have to trust that God knows better than we know. Jeremiah 29:11 says that God has plans for our lives, plans to prosper us, not to harm us, not to put us in the path of a tornado. So fundamentally, we tapped into trusting God to, truly orchestrate the entire trip. So a great weekend. I'll probably talk more about this in the future on some episodes, but a lot of things fundamentally had to go into setup preparation in order for when that phone call came from James, hey, Rob, would you do this tour with me, for me to be able in the first place to say yes. So I want to look at 3 little things today in this area, fundamentally reaching our goals. We talked earlier, music theory and the fundamentals of music aren't necessarily the same thing. I want us to break this down in just some simple thoughts, some of the things I just want you to place into thought process here. Number 1, the fundamentals of your instrument. Are you a singer? Are you a piano player? Are you a bass player? Are you confused like me? You don't know on a given day what you are. To fundamentally reach your goals, you need to fundamentally understand the instrument that you use. If it's your voice, if it's the piano, if it's a guitar, if it's the drums. Understanding the fundamentals of that instrument, vitally important. That's what we do at CNS. Our private lessons help you fundamentally understand what it is that God has called you to do. That's what we do through our creative coaching. You can study with our CNS staff virtually throughout the course of the year. You don't have to wait till we get to the school in July. Helping you understand fundamentally what it is you do is why we have our online school, the CNS online course of study that's available 24/7, 365. You can sign up any day of the year for our online course, and you get 30 days to complete all of the curriculum. Man, if you'd have any interest in our online course, look us up. Go to the website, www.cnsmusic.com, or email me at info@cnsmusic.com, and I will get some more information on our online course of study. But it's superly, vitally important. If you don't opt to come to CNS, if you don't opt to do our creative coaching or our online course, to fundamentally understand your instrument, you need to get with an instructor in your hometown. Let them teach you the fundamentals of your instrument. Number 2, we do need to understand the fundamentals of music. I could not have done what I did with James Michael Rainey this past weekend had I not known music theory, had I not understood the elements of music, had I not put that side of studies over into the category of being fundamentally something that activities, principles that are important or essential in what it is that you want to do. So fundamentals of music, number 2. Number 3, what I want you to think about to fundamentally reach a goal that you may set for your music or your ministry, you need to understand the fundamentals of ministry. Man, y'all, this is bigger than just going. We did not just load equipment up and head out just to play music for 5 dates on a Keys to Christmas dueling piano tour. Man, it was all about ministry. The hands that went up yesterday, the lives that changed after they came down, got on their knees and humbled themselves before the Lord. And when they got up and left a different person, that's why we do what we do. That's why we got out of there in the middle of that storm and pushed. Man, it was a hard 3-4 hour drive until we were able to drive out of that storm. It's not about just the music. It is all about the ministry. So it's vitally important that fundamentally we understand the ministry side of what we're doing. Where does that start? That fundamentally needs to start with our own personal discipleship. If we're not talking to the Lord, if we're not in His Word, if we're not doing some things in our own discipleship walk, then we're not going to get to that point where we can do what we need to do effectively and with excellence. So it has to start with our own with our own discipleship to understand the fundamentals of ministry. Then from there, we need to understand what it takes to walk in a sense of discernment, like I shared with some of our services where we took the script and threw it out the window. If you're fundamentally walking in your ministry, you're at a place where you can hear God say, I need this to change. I need it to go this direction tonight. James, Rob, I know you have something planned, but what I have planned is bigger for the people sitting out there that you are ministering to. So 3 things to fundamentally reach your goal. I think 3 things. We need to fundamentally understand our instrument. Number 2, fundamentally, we need to understand music. Number 3, not because it's the least important, because it's the most important. But number 3 on the list is fundamentally, we need to understand ministry and what God has called us to do. I think if we put some thought into those 3 areas fundamentally, then when we can do that and we can get a grasp on that, I think we're going to see that could end up making this our best day yet. Y'all be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the name the Charles Novell School of Music. And for more information on CNS and our upcoming events, like our online school, our weekend regional sessions, our creative coaching, and our pastor's retreat, you can visit us at our website at www.cnsmusic.com. As you've listened to this episode, we hope that you've gained some information that you can apply to your music and to your ministry to make today the best day yet.